Hey guys,
Hey, James.
how's it going?
Doing well.
Hello, James.
What's going on now? Did you stay away from the Fed stuff? Can you hear me?
What was that question for, James?
It was for you if you stayed away from the Fed stuff and then the New Zealand rate unchanged part.
But Brian texted me earlier today and said, "What the heck happened?" It was around 2:30, and I just decided to take the afternoon off, and so I didn't even see it.
FOMC.
Yeah, you had both the federal funds rate and the Kiwi funds rate.
Yeah. I was giving you a hard time, Al. I was because it's been so dull the last few days. I figured that would rile you up a bit.
I think I saw it about 4 o'clock. I thought, well, I'm not going to hear about this anyway.
So it didn't work.
I decided to go out and cut my grass and leave my phone in the house, so I didn't lose it. So I decided figured it was.
I had a couple wick out and get my zones were again too small, but it is what it is.
This is kind of funny. We went into this only fresh zone here, and then bounced right off of there.
That's a big move. If you'd have caught that zone, even though it's not fresh.
Well, it's not fresh after this. It was fresh before.
After that, it was fresh before. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 122 pip bounce.
Yeah, I still have my entry to go short at 69.62 on the Kiwi.
As well as I do.
Yeah, that's probably gonna come in tonight.
Yeah. And when I saw that bounce, I thought, "Oh, that's getting pretty close to that. I better put it back on again." I took it off because I thought this thing's going to be a week before it gets back up there. It's just a matter of a couple hours. That was a pretty strong bounce.
Our Swissy didn't work out so well today.
Well, I got out before it didn't work out, so
Yeah, I took a little bit off, and then basically ended up being break even.
Where'd you get in?
Where did we get in? Let's see. It was at the. Let me go look at here. I got in at the 97.16 mark at 5 o'clock this morning, 5:15ish.
Yeah, I got into 22 and I got out at.
I was out by 9:30.
I got out there. I only got 8 pips out of it, but it was profitable for me.
Yeah, I got out at 9:30. I was
So
just
hold
tired
on.
of watching it go sideways.
What time frame did you get in on?
You talking me or Al?
Well, both of you got into the Swissy, so whichever.
I think we did it on the 15-minute, didn't we?
Did on I used the hour. I was using Tim's hour level, but I kind of got nailed down to the 15 on that one to get a better price.
Oh, I see. And where was your stop?
My stop was sitting at 96.7 or 96.97.
Right.
But I never got stopped out. I took profit before I got stopped. Well, I got one part of it stopped out. It ended up being break even. So
Okay.
one part stopped out. Another 2 parts were profit. So
Was that was a long you saying or short?
It took a long.
Oh, okay. So 96, 97. So you would have gotten wicked out by this time.
I would have got stopped out by the big one as well as the one prior to it.
Yeah, look at that range. That's sick.
Yeah, that's insanity.
It's 2 5-minute candles here. 73 pip move. And look how it came right back to the origin.
Yeah, it went right back to where it was. I'm glad I got out. I can always re-engage. But it goes back to this thing is hanging right at the institutional number of 97.15. That's where it's been battling.
So look at, like, you got 3 levels here. Look at this. This would be the distal level for all of them. And let me just check here. And you had this level here. This was a fresh level as well.
It looks so different on the 5-minute.
Yeah, and look at that 5-minute candle. You see how it's bounced off of both of the levels.
Going.
Yep. Probably if you look on like a 1 hour chart, you'll see, look at that. It was a fresh level. Well, not too fresh because the wick got touched, but it was a fresh level looking this way.
Correct. Which is our OTA way normally.
And there was nothing here with the exception of this guy. And I can actually make that a level if you want. See if double, no.
And you're changing that to 0?
Yeah, it didn't draw it. It must have been a wick or something that didn't. Oh, you know what? This didn't qualify. That's why. Hold on. I just want to show you that this could be a level if it drew it a certain way. Where's my overrides? There, you see that?
Oh yeah. I wouldn't take that risk.
No, but I'm saying, you know, if you look at it that way, that was technically a level. It's just a really ugly one. But the higher quality.
Looks like we got a few more people in here tonight, which is kind of nice.
Like your little announcement just some help.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Or they just knew James was talking and he's like a celebrity now. It's one of the two. Either my email worked or they know that James is a celebrity.
It's probably your email. I wouldn't count it. So everybody in the room is probably wondering what the hell these levels are.
Yeah, they are. Well, not everybody. I'm kind of still wondering. I got an idea.
All right, so let's
and
go.
I'll keep an eye on chat box for you if you want to talk. That way, if somebody doesn't have a microphone, I don't know if you got access to see your chat box.
I do see it on a different screen, but I'll
keep an eye on it for you. That way, you don't have to worry about it.
Let me see if I still have the old one. So basically, this is what we had before. Take out these clouds so that they don't confuse anybody. So in the past we had okay, that was a short, never mind. In the past we just had little lines saying, you know, kind of, there's a zone there, draw your own zone. There was no indication of freshness, no kind of, if unless you scrolled all the way and put a line at every single one of these, you didn't know where a level existed or if one existed, and you could have over-targeted, you could have overshot it, you could have taken a non-fresh level, etc. So instead of doing that, the new indicator or the new update has something called levels. These levels, they use somewhat OTA rules. For those of you who are OTA students, I believe everybody here went through OTA. So they use OTA rules, high quality zones, strong move out, etc., etc. And they use kind of the same technique that OTA uses to teach their levels. These guys use to draw. Obviously, our rules kind of go hand in hand with the OTA's core strategy, so that's why they're lining up to be what they're lining up to be. So you can see your rally-based drops, rally-based rallies, drop-based drops, drop-based rallies. Let me find something in a downtrend for you. Yeah, so something like that. You know, if you pull it up in the past, you basically had to go find levels on your own. Now, these levels are there for you, and the more you add to your screen, you'll notice more levels appear automatically. So you don't have to go hunting for them. They pretty much just show up. The other nice part about this is it keeps track of freshness. Pink levels, which technically are just light red levels, are fresh, where orange levels are not fresh. You can see like this one got hit here. However, something like this, you would technically see that as a fresh level. You wouldn't pay attention. Some of you wouldn't pay attention, let's say, to the fact that the wick of this level, the wick of a candle inside this level got hit, which makes it a not fresh level anymore. The indicator reads freshness that way. That way, you know for sure that it's not a fresh level. The next step that's going to be added to this is authenticity, which basically means if a level is created because price hit another level, it's not going to draw the new level. It's going to, like something like this, you notice there's a level inside of a level here. And you'll have the option to pick that. If you want to see those levels, they will appear. If you don't want to see those levels, they won't appear. Now, some people don't have fast enough computers, and this may slow down your computer depending on what kind of computer you have. You can always turn the levels off and just leave the lines. And what it does is basically just draws the lines, the proximal and the distal line of a level, and also changes the color of it to be, and you can control the colors and so forth, but it changes the colors to match with the freshness of the level. So whatever, you might want to make these thicker and darker, which I'll do right now. Let me, make these black. So these black lines represent not fresh level, orange lines represent not fresh levels, and then green and red represent fresh level. They use the same technique that OTA uses for strength, which is basically we measure 1.5 move of the last candle in the base. That gives it a pretty good strength, and then also limited wick at the bottom or limited wick at the top for supply and demand. The nice part about this is it saves you hours on end trying to find levels. It automatically draws them, and as you add more price data to the chart, it keeps adding them. Obviously, eventually it's going to bog down your computer, but you know, that's what you can take the shading off, which is the real kind of resource hog. Change that back to gray. Now, another thing you can do, which is the traditional OTA setup here, you have your curve, weekly chart. You can kind of lower the settings here. Instead of having the exact strength, you can lower the characteristics of a strong move out, just so you catch every single supply and demand, because these are a little bit stronger, and even if they're weak, this still is going to have a pretty strong bounce off of there. Let me change that back to 4 hours just to keep it consistent here. So you have your curve, and then on here you have secondary curve, or secondary kind of, if you're looking level on inside level, 4 hour inside of a daily or something along those lines. And you could see using the trend cloud of that particular time frame, you can see what the trend is for this whole setup here. So curve, trend, and then you look for high quality, high-end setups that go along with this, and it kind of completes your whole setup. So you know exactly what you're trading, where, and how. It's a very interactive trade plan, just based on some of these settings. You just basically write down what the settings should be for your levels, and create a layout in the FXCM platform, and you're done. We're doing it manually, obviously requires a lot of work and a lot of thinking and a lot of knowing. Here, the only thing you really need to know is kind of what works for you.
And what I like about it, just from what I've seen the last 2 days, is the number system. You put the numbers on the on the drawing there, and
Yeah,
so
so
there's no. I mean, for me, it's like, okay, now's my entry is going to be here. I may move it up a little bit. So, like for instance, if I'm using the Euro Kiwi on the 4 hour, I see it 62.24 is my buy area. I may bump that to 62.25, and obviously my stop would need to be well below the 18. But it does allow you to not have to try to figure out what the number is.
Right.
And
That's
that takes a lot of time too.
I specifically, this part took a little extra time to develop. I took that extra time specifically for that need. I know that that's a big need for is to have these numbers available to you. So you don't even have to. Usually people, modify their FIP tools, do whatever they got to do to get everything to kind of to use the right drawing tools. But then at the same time, you have to think and you have to say, well, does this one qualify? Does that one qualify? If you want to get your chart back, you never want to look at those different colors, the blacks, the reds, the greens. You can just get your chart back, and you can kind of train your eye to see these things a little better, so that you know exactly what you were taught to look for. This indicator really does that for you.
Which I think that's the hardest thing for most traders. They're having a hard time identifying which ones are fresh. What is fresh? What is authentic? What is a true zone? How to identify where would be my distal and proximal lines? Where should I draw them? And they end up being short, and they end up getting stopped out before they want to.
Yeah, I mean that's.
And then it goes in their direction. We've all heard that story.
And a lot of people, when they're starting out, are not patient and get frustrated easy, and life gets in the way. You forget what you were doing, and you have to, it's a process, and the faster you speed up that process or teach yourself things maybe you don't know, and the better it's going to get.
And another thing to just remind, especially the ones who are new to the forum and not, the key is for our forum here is to be able to stick around long enough to understand some of the things you're going, I don't get this, I don't know I don't know where they're getting this. If you'll just stick around and be patient, you'll find that the language becomes real easy, and you're going to start hearing OTA stuff all the time. It's just sometimes everybody has a little bit different style. Plus, so for instance, if we're looking at the 4 hour, I'm a 4 hour swing trader. Rarely do I drop down to 15 minutes. I teach school, so therefore I don't have time during the day to day trade. But I could look at a fresh zone like this. If I wanted to take the Euro Kiwi on a short and I want to be aggressive, I go with the orange. If I want to be more conservative, I go with the red. If I want to take a long and I want to be more aggressive, I'll take the gray. Otherwise, I'll take the green. So you have an option of aggressive and non-aggressive. And here's the nice thing about, and I was sharing this with James and Al as well, is that what I'm going to be doing is going to Forex Tester once we have it, and I'm going to say, okay, if you take conservative entries everywhere, obviously you're going to have a lot less trades if you're swing trading on a conservative realm. But how successful are those? And we're going to do the chart running a report of that, and then we'll also do just aggressive. And then I'll try to do my own style. Sometimes I'm aggressive, sometimes I just don't feel it. And so I'll wait for the bigger, time frame, a little bit more conservative. It just depends on what mood I'm in. And so this is going to give us the ability, once James gets it to where it does move freely with Forex Tester. We talked about doing a Saturday lesson when the market's not active, but we can go on our Forex Tester, use this great tool, and not only show the platform, but also show the tool and how we can use it and see how successful we are. I think it's going to be kind of cool.
Now, I want to give you guys a preview. This is something I've been working on.
This is Forex Tester.
Yes, it is.
Is this the 2? I can't read that. Is this the 2 or the 3?
Well, this is the 2. I have the 3. I just haven't. But oops, I forgot to insert it. 1 second. Oh, come on.
And really, Forex Tester is not difficult to start to use. It takes a little getting used to setting up the mechanics of it all. And once you get used to doing that once or twice, it's really not a big deal. It's a little cumbersome at first because you're having to set things up in two different ways, but after you get used to it, it's shortened up my back testing from taking a week or two to just a few hours. So it's really been beneficial for me. So if you don't have Forex Tester, email me and I'll help you get that, or email James.
So now you can see that we have a prototype that is drawing levels on Forex Tester as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Obviously, there's going to be an improvements done to it. We just have early phase of this code, but within the next couple weeks, this is going to be available for Forex Tester, especially with the release of Forex Tester 3, which
Right.
is going to be a very nice upgrade to it. They're going to be able to allow multiple charts, so you can you can take advantage of multiple screens, multiple CPUs. It's a lot faster. There's a lot more features in it. The data component is a lot more developed than it is with Forex Tester 2. So there's a lot of stuff coming in the platform, and then with that, there's going to be the indicator that gives you the drawings, and you can set up your levels the way you want to set up your levels and practice trading them here, and then transfer them to real charts. It's going to be a nice add-on.
Are you going to be able to color code them just similar to the FXCM, where you have red,
Yeah.
or you just use? Okay.
Yeah, they'll be color coded. Right now, this is obviously a kind of a tester code for it, but it does change colors, not fresh and fresh zones and things like that. Takes them out when they're broken, and et cetera, giving you the same characteristics as what you see on FXCM.
Very nice. Yeah, Steve, location's the key. I think this is the nice thing about these zones is that depending on what your style is, of what your time frame is, you'll have an option to go. Obviously, if you're conservative on a 1 hour, you're probably going to be considered aggressive on the 4 hour. And so if you have an overlap between a zone that's showing up in the same general area on your 4 hour as it is the daily, and it's also in a 1 hour chart, that's a pretty good confirmation of a place that is really a daily level that you could use to kind of nail down to a better price using a 4 hour or 1 hour. Yeah, I haven't got to the 5-minute charts yet. That's Al's job.
And then the other thing, there's 3 ways to draw zones based on OTA rules. I kind of took one of them out because I think it's extremely irrelevant, and that is drawing wicks only. It just gets way too complicated to do that. So what I did was just the normal way, which is body to wick, and then there's also a wick to wick, so that it increases the zones a little bit. But you can see like this hit the zone, the portion that was in the wick, and never actually made it to the body. And you can see how this zone is no longer fresh. You wouldn't see that if you didn't have the indicator obviously telling you, but there you go. This is a good example of where an indicator can help you see better than you can see. And then obviously if you go ahead.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
No, if you want to give it a little more wiggle room on the entries and the exits so that you're not constantly stuck in the wrong place, you can set it wick to wick. And you notice you'll give it a little extra wiggle room, so it guarantees an entry, and then you get a little wiggle room to the exit side that guarantees an exit, and you kind of get the benefit of having somebody else watch out for you.
And I don't know if this is a question necessarily for our group, but can you explain to them how you determined the zone? You mentioned, I think it was yesterday or the day before, the 3 candles back. That's something that I heard. I don't know if that's something that was just a rumor, but how did you come up with the zone? I mean, how did you identify?
Well, it actually,
Obviously we got wick to wick, and we've got that type of thing. But how did you determine where the zone is?
it actually reads going 3 candles back. So what it does is it says, like let's say we'll use that as an example. It looks at this candle here and it says, all right, did the previous candle open higher than the wick of this candle? No, it didn't. So then it includes that candle. Then it looks another candle back, and it only does a maximum of 3. It doesn't go back past that because I find that a little bit irrelevant. I find that all the better zones, the high quality zones, really only have, like this one obviously had a couple extra candles in it, but it is what it is. For the most part, it's about 3 candles back from the exit candle. And I'm going to enhance this a little bit. I'm going to add some more rules to it and some more things to the way it draws the zone. We'll use like additional odds enhancers and so forth. But basically, it checks every candle until it hits that stopping point, which is the 3rd, compares them to each other. When they all look good, it takes the highest high and the maximum number, whether it's an open or a close. That way it compares the down candle to the up candle, and that's how it draws them.
Very nice. So we talk about different odds enhancers with OTA, and they talk about time in the zone. In this particular case, we only have 3 candles. That's really not it's not giving us that piece of the element, correct? Yet.
Which one?
Or is it? One of the odds enhancers they talk about is how long did it stay in that zone. Obviously, this one to me didn't stay very long at all.
I found that.
Case where we have.
No, I found that based on some characteristics, like on a strong move out, like all that stuff, it actually just never points out levels that have more than 3 candles in them.
Okay, so out of your statistics, you found that to be the foundation.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
It's just the strength of the base.
That's one less thing I have to worry about.
And then there's a backtesting tool here.
Your leg out's the key. Whatever leg comes out is the key.
Yeah.
Hey, James, this is Steve. I have a question.
Hey, Steve.
Hi. Do you think you may ever consider volume, or is that not probably going to be an option? Like, for example, let's say big banks are playing games and decide to take their foot off the throttle, and only a few players are in the market at a level where they kind of fake you out. Do you think any rules like that might ever come into play?
Well, with Forex, unfortunately, the volume charts that or the volume calculations you get only apply to FXCM customers.
Tick volume wouldn't be an option to check, because what I'm finding is some of these candles in the base, you'll see price going up, and all of a sudden the volume drops down about 50%, and then you get hammered by them just kind of trapping you, things like that. And that's probably beyond the scope of what you can do, I guess, with FXCM anyway then. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, in FXCM it wouldn't be too relevant, because it's really, the volume is only based on FXCM customers. It's not necessarily what goes on in the world. You wouldn't know whether it's all the institutions in the world dropping out or what it is.
Well, if you had a tick feed like you have with NinjaTrader, you might. you know, if you had a kinetic tick feed or with like TradeStation, you could use tick volume to see how many players are trading at the current time. That's kind of what I was getting at.
This is what the tick chart looks like on FXCM.
Yeah.
So, but you know, maybe there's going to be a TradeStation and a NinjaTrader release. We can explore those
Yeah, I just
those
meant
options.
to ask about volume if you factored that.
This
Here's
really
another question. Here's another question for you, James, in regards to the update. Is there a way to identify only those zones that are created within the London Open, New York Open?
that's going to be something that's going to be added. There's going to be a time feature that basically turns signaling off between 5 p.m. and 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. whenever volume comes to the market. Right now, that feature is only available in TradeStation, but it will be coming into this indicator
Okay.
at some point. There's going to be a whole set of enhancements. You're going to have authenticity, strength. I'm going to put them into one category together. So authentic, strong. What else is there for odds enhancers? Obviously, trend and curve. That's something
Obviously,
you'll have to
trend
spot.
curves, strength to move out, time in the zone. You've got what time was it created?
Yeah. So like those things will be added to it. And then you can control even I mean how many candles you'll be able to control how far back it reads the zone, and all that stuff will be.
Do you do anything with candle patterns like hammers and stars or evening, morning star or anything like that?
No, that's not part of the indicator. That's something you can watch for as stuff comes into your levels to see whether it's. I mean, those are patterns for confirming a trade and confirming entry.
James Pierre had a question. His question is, does it remove the level once the candles pierce it?
Yep. So I was going back here, so you can see. First of all, you have backtesting capabilities here, so you can scroll through and it will add levels that may have been traded through at some point. Like you can see level appears, turns gray, and then disappears as price trades to it. So as soon as a candle low or high goes through the zone, that zone is taken out automatically. So
Which cleans up your screen a lot.
Yeah, so you can see like these zones keep disappearing, new ones keep appearing, they change colors and so forth. And this way you could scroll as far back as you want and then do like let's say something like this, and then just do like a manual case by case where you're scrolling candle by candle to see what zones work and so forth. Obviously with Forex Tester, that's going to be a lot easier, but
yeah, please don't do them one candle by a time.
Yeah, but you could see like all your demand zones in one shot, and obviously if you take price away, it will take the zones away, so it cleans the chart up a little bit.
And understand this as well, that in not only these zones, if you use the quarters theory, these zones will also help you. Okay, there's a good one that's a quarter reminder. I mean, you still can use quarters theories with this strategy. I mean, you got to understand with OTA, there's strategies within a core strategy, and so don't get hung up on different styles. Everybody has their own style. You got to figure out what yours is. But if you're a quarters person or you're strictly supply and demand only, it doesn't matter as long as you stay with the core supply and demand theory of all things in the core strategy. This is just going to be a tool. And James keeps saying it's an indicator, and I don't want anybody to get. To me, this is not an indicator because when I think of an indicator, I think of it lagging. This is not lagging. This is price action.
Yeah.
We always hear about price action, but there's no other thing to call it but an indicator. I guess you can call it a tool, but don't get confused that this is not anything like an RSI or a moving average. This is strictly price zones.
Where I see this being really nice is if you're a confirmation entry trader and you want to take number 2 and 3 entries.
And I see the value. Yeah, and I also see the value for set and forget for me.
Really? Yeah, I mean, either way, I'm just saying
It just depends.
it's always panning the screen, so that's
right.
Nice. If you're waiting for opportunities to develop, it's kind of nice.
It will take a lot of the. Most traders have problem with patience, and if you just stay real mechanical with this, and you know what your rules are, when you're going to get in, how aggressive you're going to be, what your risk tolerance is going to be, and you stay with your position size and find out what where you're going to be in and where you're going to be out, and make sure your stops in a place that you can live within your portfolio. You can do like Steve said, that confirmation thing or set and forget. And I know a lot of our guys aren't around the computer all day long, so a set and forget, as long as it's within their risk parameters, this is a great tool because I don't have to keep looking for zones. I know what I've got in front of me. I have to make the determination how aggressive am I going to be. That's it. And where is it? If I go to the very, very bottom one on the 4-hour chart on the Euro Kiwi, does that put it in a downtrend? Or is it, because to me that looks like the last of the Mohicans. If it goes to that and blows through it, then that's going to be my best shot of it bouncing up at that point, if it goes all the way down. But it all depends on trend too. So there's all sorts of ways you can use this tool to kind of guide how you're going to trade. But at least get your eyes looking at, what was that again?
Oh, just you said if it goes past that point, is that because it's the last pivot?
It could be the turn. We're getting ready. To me, I'm seeing perfect example is the Aussie US for me. It's been blowing, but it seems to be looking like it's turning, and so I have kind of a line in the sand.
Yep.
That if it breaks that line, then I know that it's going down, or at least further down.
I think I know what you mean. Like, for example, Ryan Watkins is always talking about the last, if it breaks the last high or low.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, that's kind of my philosophy. I don't use the same terminology, obviously, because he's a whole lot more versed in it. But if I'm using my last green zone as a possible long, and I lose, then there's a good chance it's going to come back up to that area and now become my resistance area. Just as I'm looking to do, I think it is the Aussie US. Let me look at my chart real quick. I'm waiting for a retracement back up after, For instance, there's a line in the sand on the Aussie. Can you throw the Aussie up there on the 1 hour, James? Yeah. For me, there's 2 zones I'm looking at. If I'm aggressive, I like this orange area that he's at. Now, for me, on my trading style, you'll see it is the 76.87 mark, where it just hovered there for a while and then it just busted through, but it hasn't been back out there. That's my place to be. That's my high short. That's my most conservative short. It's around the 70. It's right around the 7,700 handle. But Al and I were talking about this very pair, looking like a few days ago, like it looks like it wants to turn over, and it did. And there was a couple things that made me do that. Is I was thinking that very thing because when I talked to Tim Pessett, that's one of the OTA instructors. If you haven't had him, I'd encourage you to listen to him. He's sharp. And he confirmed something I read on the Central Bank of Australia. Their website mentions that their price is currently overpriced, and they're wanting to take it back down to the 6,900 mark. Well, they've been saying that since March. So sooner or later, it was going to come down. Now, if you look at my zone on the hour, I'm at the 7,700, But if you use the one path momentum, which if you have the tool, you'll know what I'm talking about. On the daily, there's a signal at that same line. So it's just using the one path momentum multi-indicator to have confirmation. So I'm taking a short entry almost exactly where the daily is. And so it's a 7700 handle that seems to be strong at this point. So I mean, just for me, I'm seeing these colors that James put together, and I'm able to see possibilities of where it's turning. Just playing around with it.
Yeah, it's another odds enhancer.
You're doing what now?
I said it's another odds enhancer is what it is.
Correct. Well, look at your trend there, and that's exactly where I'm going in, is right where it broke it. And I didn't come up with that magical. I didn't even draw that line. I didn't even know that line existed. I just know that we had a lot of problems busting out of that area.
Yep.
And that would be, to me, the most conservative short. And if it busts through that one, as Steve mentioned, kind of what Ryan Watkins would say, then we're going back up higher again. Otherwise, we're going to be in a short for a while.
So I have a question again. I don't want to hijack this session. So if I'm asking too many questions, I apologize. But
hey, we can cut you off.
I'm really sorry, you guys. I don't need to talk so much.
You're good.
I was wondering how the trend factors into when you draw a level, because obviously we all know that we can spot levels all over a chart. But if it's on the wrong side of the trend, it's going to get whacked. I mean, it happens all the time if you're on the wrong side of the trend. So is that factored in, to where the levels are drawn?
No, but you have a tool that can tell you what the trend is, so you can keep yourself on the right side of the trend.
So you're not just drawing pink and orange only where, okay, so right, you have supply and demand there. So, wait.
So
What I would say, I'll just look at this chart right here. He's using the 1 hour cloud, which is hanging right near price. When the line on the bottom is red, then you're going to be looking to be short with the trend. And what I would be doing here is I'll be considering that orange area because it wasn't completely breached.
Okay.
And then I'll be using my green for targets or my grays for targets.
Yep.
So are you only using one chart for trend, or like?
Well,
I've missed a few sessions. I apologize.
you could. What you do is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have on my 1 hour, I have my 4 hour cloud.
So here's a 4 hour trend.
One reason I bring it up is because I trade the daily chart pretty heavily, and it's working really well for me. And it'd be great, it's just, I mean, you can spot the levels on a daily chart. They stand right out, and things don't move very fast. I mean, I might get.
There you go.
So here's a daily chart, and here's a weekly trend.
It's almost kind of no-brainer on a daily.
Let me see. So here's a weekly trend.
Oh, I see.
See, now you're still downtrend. You still got a red line on the bottom.
Yeah,
you're considered a down.
Kind of turning here. You're very close to turning, but in any case, this could be pretty much the turning point, or it could come retest this guy. But you're currently in a breakout of a possible uptrend. And here's your obstacles. This could be a target. This could be a target. This could be a target. This could be and so forth. So that's what those zones that are still there. And you can even.
You really have to be patient trading the daily chart.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
Brian taught me how to be patient.
Oh, how hot. Well, then you need to teach me back, because lately I'm wanting to be on that 5-minute chart with Al. Yeah, you just got to wait. If you're a swing trader, you got to be looking 4 hour and a daily. I mean, and maybe nil down to the 1.
Just for the record, even Al doesn't do much below 15 minutes anymore.
So I pushed you up 10 minutes.
Yeah, you pushed me up 10 minutes.
I love the 5-minute chart. I wish I could trade on the 5-minute chart all the time, but it's too much fun.
Yeah.
Too many stop outs for me.
Yeah. And the neat thing about this indicator, Steve, or tool as we call it, is the fact that you've got other options that James is not even showing on it right now. you can really clutter up your screen with a bunch of noise. Or you can just use your zones and maybe a cloud, whether it be the current time frame cloud or your higher time frame cloud, to give you an overall what is the look doing. And I also have a rule that before I ever make a trade, I look 300 candles back, whatever that is. I make sure that gives me a little bit more idea of where trend is going to be.
Do you still lock in, Brian? Do your lock-in rules change, or do they stay the same?
What rules?
Lock in, like when you would lock in?
Most of the time I'm pretty well the same. I don't change a lot. Now, Al's got me changing things when I go lower time frame. But when I do it, when I see what I'm doing, I mean, for me, there's times I would say I get more aggressive, and than I normally, and it's not chasing because I'm not chasing it. But there's times where you can tell that it's going away, you know, and you've got room. And so
on the daily,
for me, yeah, you can tell.
On the daily, like you can get 100 pips, and not be very far from the level, and then it's tempting to lock it in. And so because I have a 400 pip rule per month, I only need 4 of those. But,
well, and what I do is, James taught me something that I've been using. It's been real successful, and it's all about trade management. My first thing right off the bat is I will. A matter of fact, I just got another target. Perfect example, U.S. yen. I've been in that all day long. I set my first target at 1-to-1, and at the 1-to-1 mark, I will move my stop to the break even.
What time frame?
Let me go look at it. And then I set my 2-to-1, and then I let my third target just roll. And I don't even. By that time, I'm already profitable. And that's how I've been doing the pound US so well. I had at the beginning of the month, I guess it was this month. In the first week, I think it was the first week, Al, that I was already 400 pips up and locked in already. And I think I told Al it was about 400.
Yeah.
And now I'm about 500-600. So it hasn't been great the last 2 weeks, but I'm still positive. James, I believe I took this. Get over here. Look, I think I took it off the hour.
Where'd you get in?
Take it off the hour. I got in at the 111.25. Sound familiar as a number?
And what's your stop? 111?
I did the quarter theory on this one. I did the 111.25 with my.
This is one that's 1166 to 38. It was the first zone below there.
Yeah. So today on this particular pair, I've locked in, as you call it, 30 pips on my 1-to-1, moved my stop to break even, and now I just collected my 60 pips. And I won't move my stop unless I go up to probably past the 112 close. That's probably where I'll go ahead because I'm entering in. Right? Yeah, exactly. We're looking at a 1 hour. We're in a zone. I think we're going to blow through this one first, though.
Well, this is not a fresh zone anymore. And this is
Right,
where,
it's not fresh.
this is, I guess, the key point I'm trying to make here, that this thing is like, probably just for that alone would be worth gold, is notice this wick did go into the zone. But, it kind of took it
to
out.
me, again, it goes back to being that's your aggressive short. But if you look at this particular pair on a 4-hour chart, we are in an uptrend.
Pretty close to it.
So that was my target. That's my 60 pip target. And now, what's our next fresh lineup? Can you tell me that?
1251.
Okay, so that's about. I'm a little short of that, which is good.
There's your next fresh level.
So you're 1247.
You have 1247. I did 1251. I wonder why that is. You're on 1 hour? Oh, US yen. That's why. Oh no, that's right wrong.
And see, I had my last target at 1242, so I'm short of that area even so. And that will be over a 3-to-1 by that time. So that's how I lock in mine. I've just learned I've been to where I've had, it'd be almost 200 pips, and I moved to break even. I'm thinking, okay, it's a break even trade. Only the very next day to have news wipe it completely out, stop me up for break even.
And
I
look at
just
that.
lost
That zone went
200
away.
pips. Yeah.
We
it
just
all went
took it
away.
out. So
There's the perfect
there's your
example.
zone. There's gone.
James, you're on wick to wick, don't you?
Yeah, I did for a second. I just was double checking.
That's why it's different. Okay.
And James, Ricky, I just saw Ricky's question. She's asking how can she get this indicator tool?
Yeah, I think I replied to her that it will be available. Right now, it's in a very limited release because of some things that that are in this that are proprietary. And once we have a good, solid protection in place, it will be available to everyone. So
Very nice.
the old indicator is still available without the levels, but obviously, I think the levels are the key point here. So
It makes it all worthwhile.
yeah, we're just working on protecting it.
This, I think, can really help those who are struggling with and those who are frustrated. And just like Steve says, you can point out levels all day long, but to have a tool that can say, okay, this is fresh, this has been tested once, this has been blown through, because sometimes we won't look far enough back and realize that that zone may not be it may be a reaction, it may not be a fresh zone. So I like this.
And also the time it saves. Nothing else. The time it saves looking for those levels. It's insurmountable.
Hi guys, I made it for the tail end.
Well, it's been nice to have y'all. It's great that y'all all come. It's time to close. Oh,
I know. He's an idiot.
yeah, I am.
James, why doesn't there have the green line on that fresh level right above the 108.95? See that? It's almost like a rally base, that whole big zoom up.
This one?
No, down to the bottom, right. Above 108.95, above that green zone, right there to the left where the big move away.
Yeah.
No, up,
Keep going.
up,
Keep going.
up, keep going,
Keep
above
going.
that
Keep going.
way.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep
The
going.
big move away.
Put it there.
That's a very good question, but this is one of the odds enhancers that is not drawing the level there. Notice the wick on the exit candle is lower than the base. Obviously, it depends on how you draw the base. If you turn that off,
Not wick to wick.
yeah, if you override, there's that level.
Okay, cool. All right, so it's what you want to set it at.
Yeah, it's obviously based on back testing and other things that could make this kind of level not appear.
Right, and Brian's going to be working on that forex tester, right, for this, Brian?
That's once he's done with giving the getting the go on the forex tester, I am actually going to do it. Absolutely, unless James
You're
wants
going
to.
to decide
Unless
wick
James
or
wants
no
to do it.
wick.
Yeah, I'll do it
Wick or
however
no
James
wick?
wants. Well, I'm going to do it the old way without that being a signal, because I'm thinking if the wick is below it, that's not a good signal to me.
Okay.
Though in some
That's just
cases
my
it might be,
opinion,
you might want to enable that if you're going to do targeting or something like that. That's probably a good use for it.
Right, and you can ignore it if you want, but
Absolutely.
it's nice to see.
I mean,
but a
cases
novice-
like that where it's going to hit and you're going to be like, oh, I should have taken that trade. But you know what? How many times does that actually work out?
Right.
The thing with me is a beginning trader with that zone. All they're seeing is that explosive move away. That's all they're thinking because that's all they heard in OTA, and they're not going to notice that wick being down there, and that may make that zone not quite as strong. And then they're going to get frustrated because they thought they had a small zone. It blew right through, only to go down just a little further and bounce right back up.
Now, let's see how many people are actually going to get this joke, but I found the perfect name for the indicator. We're going to call it Jasmine.
See, you lost me there. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
You obviously haven't sat through her XLT.
No, I can't. I have nothing against her, but I have a hard time.
Wait, hold on. Let me make this more authentic for you. How about now?
I mean, this makes the level on the level when they say there's a level on the level and you don't know what they're talking about. There it is, level on level.
Look at the time frame.
1 minute.
Yeah, there you go. Now we can call it the Jasmine rule.
Does she trade on the 1 minute chart?
Uh-huh. All the time. In Forex too. She'll drop down to a 1 minute chart and say, "Oh look, there's this awesome level here," but she'll go out and find you levels.
She seems sharp. I just have a hard time staying with. I guess maybe because it's the 1 minute thing.
Yeah, there's the Jasmine at work for you. 1 minute levels.
That would just drive me nuts. I think I'd go insane if I was doing that.
And
Okay, from 4 hour to 1 minute.
yeah, there you go. You just crash the platform because there's a lot of drawing going on, but I'll go back to normal. But you can see this thing will just keep finding levels for you until your computer tells you stop. This is one of the things, I've been looking for myself because I really hated looking for levels, and the syndicator kind of did it for me.
She's a scalper. I just can't do that.
Well, stop by one of her Sunday sessions if she
I need
ever.
to. Of course, when I first listened to her, I was so new that I was like, I don't get what she's doing. I think this is 18 months. This has been 18 months in the making,
Oh yeah.
and you didn't. It took you that long?
Let's see, where's that exit button?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think this is probably the best thing you could have created. I love all the other tools that I've got to learn, but I think this is the one that I'm most excited about getting in and seeing how I test out. Because if I don't test out right, that means I got to change some things and adjust and make those adjustments. But the only way I'm going to know that is by Forex Tester. Although I like these lines because most of these areas I'm seeing anyway on my own, but it does give me the actual pricing where I don't have to work so hard, so it's a little bit faster.
Yeah, that's key. I mean, everybody's got lives and jobs and other things, and
Especially with FXCM where you got to put multiple entries in just to have multiple targets.
yeah. So
But not only that, it takes the guesswork out of how to draw those levels. Do you take this wick or that wick or this side or that side? This way, it's pretty much all bookmarked for you, and so it takes all the guesswork. It takes all that.
And you'll know where you're wrong. I mean, once it blows through, that zone's gone.
Yeah.
And I've just been taking some notes on my chart just to kind of does it take the trade? If you pay James enough, he'll make sure that trade happens automatically.
Ryan, you said people have jobs.
Yeah.
Well, if this is good enough, I won't need one.
That's
the goal for me.
See, I love teaching fourth grade, so I don't mind doing it. But here in another 2 years, they may drive me nuts, and I may want to be a trader.
Well, for me, I've been a computer programmer for 20 years. I'm running out of creativity juice. You burn out on stuff.
I'm there. I was 20 years in music. I was touring around the world, and I got tired of it.
Did you watch Power Trading Radio yesterday?
I didn't. I haven't caught up. I got it on my screen right now to watch. Who was with
I
it?
drove up here to Minneapolis tonight, and I listened to it on my podcast, and the guy sounded just like you. He's from Texas. And it was Tracy Hubbard, the guest.
Oh, wow. I don't know
he's
him.
an OTA teacher, and I was like, is that Brian? Is he fooling us?
Yeah, that's my trading name. Yeah, that's my trader's name.
You have to listen to that.
I will. So you're saying I talk funny?
Oh, the guy. At first, I thought it was Matthew McConaughey. And I was like, no, that sounds like Brian.
See, Matthew and I go way back. We look a lot alike.
All right.
Yes, you do talk funny, Brian.
Apparently I do, but it's nothing like James. I remember I first walked in this room and I started listening. I'm going, where is he from? I mean, horrible. And then to find out he's a Patriots fan, I mean, that just kind of ruined it. But I stuck with it. I was patient, and just like most new traders need to be, just patient, stick with it. He's not, he's not much to look at, but he's pretty smart at what he does.
James, on this yen on the 4-hour chart there, like you wouldn't have spot that level up there. Like even if you see and you do get a signal, but it's such a tiny, I would never think to do that. And if we didn't have the signal on it with the line, maybe I have the line set on 0, not 1.5, we'd never see that, how tiny that makes that.
And the thing that kind of blows my mind here a little bit is look at how tiny some of these levels are, and look at price coming right to it. I mean, this level's like 3 pips on a 1-hour chart, and look at that. To the pip, it came to the proximal line of this level. Now, granted, this level is obviously a bigger level if you draw it wick to wick. It's now you can see a little bit more of it, but the actual body to wick is like 3 pips, and
and that would be your conservative way of drawing that. I mean, obviously.
What did this indicator do with any of the news today? Did it catch anything? Like, how there's been news, and if you had it level out there and then sometimes in a way far away level, and a news-driven thing just would slam in to hit one of our levels we had already preset.
So just take a look at this here.
Mm-hmm.
We had a fresh level, obviously before this. We had a fresh level right there. Look at that.
Went right to it.
Went right into it. And there's actually, there was a 15-minute fresh level. Where was it? Let me find it. Right there. So here's the level. And obviously, if you add the fact that there's news coming out and it's pretty big news, so you give a little bit of wiggle room for your stop. Look at that. That's inside the 4-hour level. Obviously, it got shot through a little bit, but there's your quarters theory right there that could have protected your stop.
Yep. Notice price never closed in it.
Yeah, in it or above it. And then obviously, if you do a confluence of zones, so you throw your 4-hour in there, take a look at where the 15-minute level is. The rule of the stop is below the 4-hour level. And there you go. And if you actually measure that out, I believe you already have a 3-to-1, because this was a fresh level too. Well, it wasn't. It was up until that peak, but this wasn't a fresh level when this came about, and you can see the levels right there, and price went right through it. So news really does a lot.
Wait a minute, what's the rule you just said? Your rule is you put your stop below a 4-hour level?
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a confluence of zones, you use the higher time frame to protect your stop, and there's your 3-to-1, and there's your 4-to-1. Look at that, all in basically in the gap. The gap pretty much gave you the trade twice. Not only did you get it here, but you also got it here.
Throw your cloud up on that 4-hour chart. Your 4-hour cloud or your daily, either one.
There's the 4-hour cloud.
Okay, so at that point, I'm just figuring you'd be almost at a counter at that point on the 4-hour, but you're probably on your dailies, probably going long, correct? Daily trends up?
I believe it is still, yeah.
So if you're trading the 4-hour, you want to use the daily trend. That way you wouldn't be going short, especially with movement. I think it is.
Yeah, there's your, look at that, right inside of that.
Cloud.
Remember that cloud rule, Tony? There it is.
Uh-huh. And I was like, well, that's a big cloud, and I don't know if I'd be. I think it was on the Aussie, but the same thing.
Yeah, but you notice you actually had a level in there, though it wasn't fresh. That was the only problem. But you have you have a guide of how to take that trade inside the cloud, and then you target, 1-to-1, 2-to-1, whatever the rules are. And if you did take the
Right,
cloud,
that was
there's
my
your stop.
question. It was halfway in the cloud. I'm like, well, not thinking, well, we're not going to find a level that's going to push it, all the way up. But news and a good level that is sitting that low. And when you're seeing the trend almost change when it's in the daily cloud, you're not thinking of going long there.
And look at
You
that.
knew that there was a zone right there, a level there.
If you
So
took
if you're
this
going long,
risk,
you're as low on the curve as you can get.
if you took this risk with the stop being below the cloud, you get inside a level inside the cloud. Look at that, 2-to-1, 1-to-1, 2-to-1 in one candle. Doesn't always happen, obviously. That has to do with news, but
And that's only about, what, a 45 pip risk?
something like that, yeah. 22, 75, 25, yeah, yeah.
And then if that's a big risk for you, just lower your position size. Don't take quite as many position size to manage your, because that's the key too. You manage your trade, but position size is everything. I mean, just like Al teaches us in the morning, you can have a 15, 20 pip move, and you can load up on your position size, and your risk is still within your parameters, and you don't have to have a big move to make the money you need to make for your day or for your week. Swing trade's a little bit different. If you're making longer term patient trade type stuff, you have to be patient with it. You may have a couple of days where it looks like it's just going to go totally against you, and you've got to trust your setup. And if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Right, and I would think downtrend there. That's right. I'm not trusting the daily cloud at that nice demand zone. That's the thing. I'm looking downtrend.
To me, this is an uptrend to me.
Based on the higher
Wait a second. DC
You got
1700. I'll
down.
tell you.
You want that trend to be coming down on the smaller time frame into your level.
Right. And as we talked, go ahead, Steve.
Regarding the cloud, this is for anybody. For some reason, that thing spooks me. I have not. It's just,
Do you have the motherboard part number by any chance? I just want to see if that thing takes PC core memory or PC
Yeah, I
memory.
said it spooked me too. James just laughed at me.
Yeah, it was a combo deal. I just
I
want to
can't
see
remember we had the bottom.
motherboard
I was
actually
so
supports
getting
that.
used to it.
What
All of a
memory it
sudden they
supports,
moved
and
to
I'm
the top.
not
I thought,
picking.
what in the heck are you doing to this screen? And I thought, I can't get used to it. I just forced myself into doing it, and it didn't take long. Because most of the time, unless you're low on the curve, that cloud doesn't really come into play where current price is at. For long, on this case. And I've just learned to use. Now, if it's getting your eyes all freaked out, what I would do is, if you're using a 4-hour, or you're mainly on the daily, let's just say you're on the daily, just show the weekly cloud. Don't show daily cloud and weekly cloud. That's what I do. When I first started, I took off the current time frame cloud and only had the higher time frame cloud locked in.
You found it really helped. Can you talk about some of your trades? That when you first said, "Hey, this is cool." I mean, this really works.
The cloud?
Well, yeah, just kind of incorporating that cloud, and when you went to light bulb, kind of went, "Wow, this works."
Well, I guess I met James early in the year. I would say December, wasn't it, James? Started talking to you.
Yeah, probably around then.
And so what I did,
Wasn't it, James?
I was a lurker. All I did was show up and never say anything, and I never talked. But I watched, and I thought, man, I'm not getting this. I'm not understanding this. And James was very kind to give me the tool to play with. So I started playing with it on my own. Most of it did not make sense. Most of it was just, I wasn't doing it live with his indicator tools. I was practicing with it. I was marking my chart up. I got my demo on FXCM, and I hate paper trading. But I started just playing with it and manipulating it. And it took me probably 3 or 4 weeks before I actually got on a microphone and said, "Hey, this is Brian. I got a question." And then James and I built a rapport, because my gift is not technical like this. My gift is, Tim Pessett calls me more of an artistic trader. I see it and I go. Whereas James is very, very mechanical, very, very technical, very savvy with the behind-the-scenes stuff that I don't understand. So when he was speaking that language, it was completely foreign to me. Now it's not foreign. I've got used to hearing how he talks about this type of tool. So it's just a matter of exposure more than anything. And for the cloud, I'm still learning with James on that because he taught me a new technique recently that when price comes to the top of the cloud, there's a good chance it's going to react to it. Now, that's not always the case. Look at the current chart we're looking at. It can still go deeper in. There's all sorts of strategies within the side of the strategy that you can use on a higher time frame or on a 4-hour chart. Use the daily cloud. If it touches it at that red line, you can do a market order or however you want to do your strategy. Especially if there's a zone there, and it usually will respond to it. Obviously, we had news today, so that's very big news driven. But it does respond to the cloud, and usually you'll see if it breaks and closes below the cloud, we're in a trend change. That's all I need to know. And so that's how I've used it.
When you say below the cloud, do you mean all the way through?
Through that green, all the way piercing the green bottom line. The key line is what's on the bottom. And if the bottom is green, that's still uptrend. If the bottom line is red, then it's a downtrend. And right now it's clearly green. But I figure it's gonna top out sometime and it's gonna flip. James, do you have a picture of when it flips? You know, where it crosses over, so we can show that piece of the puzzle?
Check the GP pound.
GP, yeah, the pound would be a good one. Who said that?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought there's a nice voice.
I feel sorry for you, Brian, because the pound has just kind of been seesawing.
Yeah, but I bet
having a tough year.
I've made more money on the pound this year than I would have ever dreamed of. Using quarters. Well, I've been using quarters. Quarters and SSI on the pound US. I don't even look at anything else. However, I'm now reconsidering with James' tool here how I can use these more effectively, maybe lower risk. Because what I do with the pound US
2 more
is
chips.
on a 4-hour chart with quarters. Once I get my signal, which
No.
James' indicator helps me do.
So on the
I
combo
will look
deal,
at it and I will. What I used to do is I do major quarters, and so my risk for every trade was 75 pips
No, I
at
know
a
that.
minimum. The average
all right, I
loss
guess
was
just
around
get that
90
one fine.
pips.
I need
But
a total of
but
32
I was
gigs.
averaging 3 to
The
1
combo gives you 16.
and being correct almost 70% of the time.
Wow.
No, don't get the other memory. That's gonna be
Taking
too
that
much.
risk, you must have to be, don't you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
But
just
see,
get the
I was dumb
16,
enough
and
to
I
know
guess we'll
that,
wait for
okay,
it
I'm
to
going
be
to follow David
back in
Warner's
stock at some
completely
point.
without any sort of change. This is what he said to do, and I
Yeah.
tried it.
I just couldn't
I
find
tried it on a couple
this
other pairs.
memory,
It just didn't work, so I tried it
in
on
any other model.
manually back testing the
let's
pound
see.
US. I manually did it, and it took me 3 weeks to do it, to get over 100 trades, because I figured a good sample size is 100. And I'm finding out the one thing that OTA does not teach real well is back testing. And had I known there was a Forex tester, I would have been all over that right off. And I wouldn't have taken 3 weeks. So during the summer of last year, I did a manual candle by candle of the quarters theory. Once it has a signal off of the quarter, whatever SSI told me, if it told me to be long, then I was only going to take a signal long. If SSI told me to be short, then I only took a signal short. And I was right 68% of the time. And my risk to reward ratio was 2.9, I think it was. But my average loss was 100. So that tells you I had a couple of moves around 600, 700 pips. So I was with a trend.
Sorry to report, I think that's what did, what was the guy's name? Tim Trunnell. I think he kind of blew his account or something because he left. Last I talked to him in October, he just didn't quite have it down. He had some good trades, but I think the risk management got him.
Yeah, you got to know your risk tolerance, and you got to know how to trade manage. And see, here's what I did with that manual thing. I started losing a lot, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm moving 90 pips, and then I'm letting it turn against me. And so what I did is I went back and started another manual test with it, and every time I reached 90 pips, I moved my break even to 30 pips.
That's what I meant. You would lock in, or do you?
Period. Yeah, you got, and I would say you got to develop. Okay, where's that spot that you can't take thinking about it turning against you and losing it all again?
100.
100's a good number, man.
Well, I only need 4 of those a month.
You know, you lock in 100, or you know, you let it run. I mean, if if your move is to 100, move your break even to 30, and then let that thing run. Or if you got 100, take it off if you want. And then, I mean, it's all preference.
It is. It's kind of the formula, really, and you have to tinker with it. And what's
That's your formula.
Right. Is I'll get that 100, but then in another week it's at 400.
Yeah, and see what I look at especially with the pound US, I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking to come in, and if I get 90, I'm going to get 30. I'm going to get a third of my movement, but I'm going to allow that sucker to move. And if it gives me another signal on the next quarter, then I move my stop to the 100 pip mark. So ends up being the stop of the next entry. So I end up doubling my position size and let that one run. And
That's
so
your big money there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I double up. And so if I started with 4 position size, actually what I do is, let's say I started with 4 micros on a pound US, and I finally get a secondary signal, and I'm still holding my 4, I'll add 2 to it. So I take half of what I hold, and I'll add to another half of that to it. If I'm holding 10, I'll add 5. If I'm only holding 2, I only add 1. So
I don't mean to hijack James's thing here. The cloud is something that, it looks better now, though. I like the way it looks.
What's your settings for transparency?
No, I just, when I first started looking at it weeks ago, it looked a little different. It looks like it's been changed a little bit.
Also, another thing that helped me is I had thickened up the lines, the red line and the green line. I thickened mine up a little bit, so the cloud didn't become just a blur. I actually saw the red. I even changed the color of the green to be darker.
Some people have a clown phobia. I think I have a cloud phobia.
Yeah, it's something to get used to. But see, I'm looking, okay, if I'm taking a long at this point, there's no fresh long for me right now. So my position on this one is I'm looking for that short.
Okay, guys, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have a higher time frame supply or demand level show up? For example, if I'm using the 4-hour chart, can I have the daily or the weekly fresh level higher time frame supply zone show up as well? Because what I realize when I'm trading, I do the weekly, daily, and 4-hour supply and demand level in the same chart. And when all 3 of them show up at the same level, that level usually 80% of the time work perfectly.
Absolutely.
So I was wondering if that is possible using that tool.
It's something that I thought of, something that I am considering. It just requires a little extra coding, but it will be available down the road. Obviously,
in the meantime, James, just like you had on that first screen, you had the 3 screens. You had your 4-hour, weekly, and daily.
Yep, like that.
You just match up those numbers.
Yep.
Now that you can see the numbers, you don't have to work near as hard. So you just see if any of them match up to your daily. So you would look at your 69.62 short on your 4-hour, then look where that sits on your daily and see if that fits within the window. What is your number there on that daily? It's hidden by your position arrows. So in this case, your daily is sitting right with your 4-hour. 69.74. You're going in at 69.62, but it's overlapping.
Yeah, I understand, and I have it like that too. But the way my screen set up, the pairs that I trade, I have all of them in the screen with those levels.
Ah, okay.
You see what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it'll actually
You're
do it,
watching
but
more
for
than one
me,
pair at a time then.
Yeah.
let me just see some here. Let me see what the hell it's gonna do. Hold on. Don't laugh at me yet.
It's just it's the way you talk to yourself. It's great.
It's a weekly level.
One thing what I'll do is I'll put a daily chart up, and I'll find the zones, and I'll just hand scribe the rectangle, put the figures on, and then you have that locked in, and that'll hold for whatever when you change time frames. You'll still have that rectangle. You can see if it overlaps.
You know, part of the problem with these candles, and I can actually fix that, is the fact that it creates a candle stream on its own. And I think that candle stream is actually being painted here. I can put a controller that will take it out. I'll put a transparency on it, but this is how you can accomplish that. Obviously, this is a little ugly right now, but there's your weekly zones on a 4-hour chart. So technically, minus the pretty drawing there, I can control that. So that's doable. You just have to slap on 2 indicators, one for the current time frame, one for the higher time frame, and it will and change the colors of the higher time frame. So your question answered there. It does it currently, just with a few minor flaws.
Yeah.
I will correct. I'll correct those flaws, and we'll see how that works out.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
Man, I wish I sounded like you. That's a great accent. I got that redneck Texan sound, apparently. Man, James, you really done a pretty bang-up job on this stuff.
Thanks.
I like that Kiwi 4-hour chart as far as how obvious the buying of the dips are on the demand zone. They just jump right. It's almost like an Elliott wave chart. It just jumps right out at you.
Did you also notice when he stretches that thing out? Did you notice how it's respecting the cloud?
Right. It's like if you ever wanted to look at an example of buying the dips, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah. You can't look at the 4-hour as much. I mean, if you see where that crossover's at?
This one?
That one right there. That's one of the things I did not learn. I just recently learned about, Steve, with the cloud. One of James's indicator when it busts out and cross like that, it's going to come back into that zone again, and that's a potential buy at that point. I didn't know that. So when it crosses that, it's going to come back to that spot, and it usually respects it, as it did. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. So it gives your eye a place to go to even when it crosses.
So that's another odds enhancer, kind of.
Could be. Obviously, I'm not sure about this one that just to the left of that one. I'm thinking it blew right through that for some reason, but who knows what caused that. But that's a good indicator. I mean, that's one of many. If you got a level there and you've got a crossing there, that's to me. And look at your number. You're at a 66. You're at a round number.
Oh yeah, right on it.
I mean, you've got several things in your play, and the biggest concern I'd have at that point is you have busted through. Is that your 4-hour cloud on that one, or is that your daily cloud?
Daily cloud.
See, the only concern I'd have for that is all the way down there. You may be going against trend by then.
One of the things that's cool, and you already mentioned it, is if this does pan out to be really reliable for people that save them a whole lot of time and you know, you can concentrate more on the business end of the trade. You know, the
Absolutely.
Management, the targets, and not straining and stressing.
See, that's what I don't understand. We've got a lot of people in our BK2 group that I think if they would just listen for a little bit to this, I think it may not change their results initially, but if they're just patient and just see what's happening, it's going to give their eye a better place to go to. But so many are frustrated right now, and I get it. I mean, I get it.
A lot of these people are trading smaller time frames too, and hey, I mean,
right.
levels all over the place, and you have to almost get rid of more levels. You know, anything. You have to eliminate levels.
Right.
And on the daily,
and some of them are starting with a very, very small account. And they start with a small account, and they have to be on a higher time frame, and they go, oh, I can't take that zone because it's too big, so let me drop down a time zone. Well, that one's a little bit better, but let me go a little further down, and then I get stopped out because they don't have enough funds. I started with 250 in FXCM trading 1 micro, and my risk was 75 pips. I mean, that's what I did. I mean, it was a little overkill, but I had to do it. I probably wouldn't suggest doing that all the time for everybody, but $7.50 is not that big of a deal on a $250 account. It's not the percentage I use now. Now, the maximum percentage is 2%.
All I know is the less I trade, the better I do. And
Oh, absolutely.
the higher quality trades I find. Remember
And
that
that's a discipline.
all I was doing was trading the 5-minute chart just for fun. And I was 14 trades a day. My commissions were higher than my take home.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, the neat thing about this is you can learn how to short trade. Al and James are great at the 15-minute chart. I can't wait till the summer.
See, what you just said is why I don't do the 5-minute chart anymore.
Well, it's so much fun, but it's not fun in your pocketbook or on your equity.
It's fun, but it's not profitable.
No.
Right. Right.
But what'll happen? This is a good point to bring up. Is just for fun the other night. I thought, I'm bored. I did a few 5-minute trades, and I lost like 3 or 4 of them. And then I hit the worst thing that could possibly happen. I hit an 84 pip runner on the pound Aussie on a tiny risk level, and I was like, God, that's your ego.
That was easy.
I know. It was like, oh man, I felt like $1 million. I felt like a king. It was like, man, I wish I could do that. But those, don't always happen.
Right. And I think that's part of the frustration with the BK2 group. Many of them they were taught at OTA on a 5-minute chart. And you got to understand, 4-hour and daily, like you said, are slow. But for the daily chart, you only have to check it once. 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I need, 400 pips. That's all I think about is, okay, yes, my levels are bigger. The risk is a lot different because these are huge, massive levels.
Right. You just have to stay with trend. You got to stay with trend on those higher.
I'm not trading as much, and most of them, you get really good bounces off of daily levels.
Right.
They really respect those daily levels. Now, I'll miss a few. Price will come up and bounce off a 4-hour level or an 8-hour level. But boy, when they stick into those dailies, unless something's really messed up, like China's dropped the rate or something.
Unless somebody moves it, yeah. Unless somebody's moving it, you're right.
I mean, for me this year, it's been the Aussie. Aussie has been just every combination of that pair has been awesome for me. Anyway.
Well, that's Tim Pessett's, one of Tim Pessett's favorites, the Aussie US.
Oh, man.
And he trades a lot like I do. I just know I'm having to learn, and Al's teaching me in the morning, with Tony's teaching me as well, is that if you're going to trade on a low time frame, I can't be thinking about what the daily trend is, because just as we've talked about, if we're in a downtrend on the daily, I could be on a 30-minute chart, and I need the uptrend to get up to my sell area. And I could steal 20, 25 pips and the current trend of that particular time frame. And so you can do it. It's counter if you're looking at the big picture, but in the smaller view, it's not counter trend. So if you're trading on a 15, 30-minute chart and you look at the 2-hour chart or whatever you use, and it's an uptrend, then you can go with the uptrend, even though on the daily it's a downtrend, and still make some money.
Here's the thing too. I started talking about how people could save time and focus and save their brain a little bit, especially if this thing, the indicator or this tool is reliable. The only thing with that is I'm a chart nerd. I love technical analysis. Love it. And so I kind of have to, there's some of that too. You have to.
That's James.
You have to. Well, when you're, when you work in the software industry, you become kind of that way. You're used to being a nerd, but
good. I got a new name.
If I'm making 3-to-1, 5-to-1 on a tool like this, who cares?
Absolutely, and then what you're talking about, Steve, is going mechanical. Take the emotion out of it and go mechanical. The problem is that so many people, and I told Tim Pessett this on the phone Sunday night, I said the problem with OTA students right now is they go in very excited, they get involved in the program, they are taught on a 5-minute chart, and they leave there just ready to go, and they think that in a couple of months they're going to quit their job and it's all going to be great and it's going to be easy. And the fact is, that is not true. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I've just now had my most consecutive time. I've had, I think, 5 or 6 straight months of no loss.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
It's 2 years.
Yeah.
And so the reality of it is that's because you also understand with my first year, I was on the road, so I was over trading constantly. I mean, I was playing, and what I did is I used my over trading to learn. I traded as much as I could so I could learn what it was going to do. And this one path has come along, and it's just slowed me down. And I was starting to slow down before. I wasn't getting frustrated. I just didn't understand why things were happening. And James knows candles. Al knows candles. He knows how to read those technical things, but he also knows how to program it in to make our eyes see. And if some of the ones who are having the struggles would just take a deep breath, don't look at quit your job tomorrow even though you're miserable.
That's the problem. People,
they're miserable.
They're thinking the wrong way. Like, there's people on our Facebook group that I message with, and there's one particular guy. I just I know that he's frustrated about money, and I'm just like, don't think of it.
You can't be.
You can't, and you have to love this.
My phrase to Al is, hey, don't worry about a loss. They'll print more.
It's your losses you learn.
Yeah, and hey, in order to look at Trump, he's filed bankruptcy how many times? And he's bounced back up to learn how to do it again. You're going to have some losses if you're going to have any sort of success. That's the only way you're going to learn. People don't learn from their successes. They learn from their failures.
And don't trade when Draghi speaks unless you're going in the right direction. That cost me an account. December 3rd, that cost me an account. That Goldman, the euro's going, the euro's going to go down. Where did it go? It went the opposite direction. Because Draghi made it go that way.
It wasn't the time yet.
That's why I don't listen to the fundamental news.
Yep. It's all about timing, and what they're doing is you can go to Scotiabank and you can read what the central bank's plans are, and it's saying the Aussie's overpriced. Well, that tells me that sooner or later they're going to force it down. I just need to be ready to recognize when that's going to happen. That does not mean it's going to happen tomorrow.
They want to, but will they? That's the thing.
They're going to have to because their export costs and their import costs are going to be crazy. If they're losing money.
China keeps messing around.
Yeah, China just announced that they're falling apart. I mean, so that I think that's part of the reason why copper went down. China's gone down. That's probably why the Aussie took a good downturn and a much-needed correction.
Yeah, if China goes down, they'll bring them down with them.
Yeah. So, I mean, James has a lot of technical things out there and tools that he has that he'll tweak. There's some other things that I'm working on that we'll put together that he's aware of that I think will add even greater understanding of how this whole system is manipulated, and you just have to be on the right side of it. I mean, that's the key, is being on the right side of the dirt. Well, James, my friend, I have got to call it a night. It is 9, and I need to make sure I see